let's get started. I have time as 7:01. Just got note that Patrick Heffernan is on his way. He was just finishing calling a Creighton girls basketball game. So he is on his way and will be here shortly. But why don't we just start at the end of the table and do roll call vote and establish quorum.
Joe Ali present.
Richard Keys present.
Gene Case present.
Erica Jacobson, present.
Frank Visconti present.
And
Tracy Blaze present.
present, great. So we do have quorum. And our first order of business is to review and approve the meeting minutes from January 7th. And we do not need Patrick here. He was not present at that meeting, so he wouldn't be voting on approval of these minutes anyways. So.
Move to approve.
And Vanessa is also here.
Right. Second.
Any discussion, comments, edits?
Just low chair.
All those in favor of approval of minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Okay. Alrighty. Now, the next order of business is public comment. To receive oral communications from members of the public may address the Finance Committee for up to 3 minutes. The Finance Committee will not engage in discussions of topics raised during public comment, but may choose to add a topic to a future agenda. This agenda segment will be limited to 15 minutes. There's no public other than Bill here. And do you have any public comment tonight?
I do not think.
Okay. And then the chair is also sharing any written or email communications since the last meeting. There have been no resident voter communications received since the last meeting. So it's been pretty quiet. So the first order of business is to take vote on 2 appointments to the Capital Planning Committee. As we discussed in the January 7th meeting, that the change and the direct result of the passage of H4742 is that the select board we are going to put forth appointments to the Capital Planning Committee. This is the group that we need to vote on an appointment, and then it goes to the select board just for approval. But this is the way it's working. We are sending 2 representatives to capital planning. The names for nomination that were submitted are Joe Ali and Richard Keys. I would entertain a motion to make sure that we do this completely so no one questions it. I'd say we do go with Joe first. I'll entertain a motion to appoint Joe.
So move.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion before we vote? Joe, are you willing to do it?
Yes.
What are your
Excellent.
qualifications?
Excellent. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor of appointing Joe Ali to the Capital Planning Committee?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. All right. Now I will entertain a motion for the appointment of Richard Keys to the Capital Planning Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Perfect. Any questions or discussion? Are you willing to serve?
I am.
Excellent.
It's already been nominated, you know.
Yep.
You're asking me.
So,
Don't do my now.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None?
Have fun.
All right. So
Yes.
Tracy, let me know whatever I need to sign to make it official.
I'll just get a copy of your minutes once they've been voted.
Perfect.
They can start serving.
Okay,
on, I think,
Excellent.
February 11th. Is that
All right.
meeting?
Yep, a week from today, 3 o'clock,
3 o'clock.
right here.
all right.
Is
Perfect.
Marshall still?
Zoom,
Yes.
Is Marshall still chair there?
I had told Marshall that in an email,
Yeah, March.
Told him one
that I could attend the afternoon meetings by Zoom.
by Zoom.
I can't be in person
Okay,
during the day.
okay.
Actually, I have one agenda, can I share?
Oh,
There you go. To be on the back side of that one. There we go. Excellent. So, the first order on old business is the DCC meeting recap for January. And if we want to, we can also talk about the upcoming DCC meeting, which is on February 6th. It's 2 days from now at 6 PM by Zoom, because it will go over the operating budget assessment implications, and some documents were shared with everyone.
Right. So I think the big thing, Brian discussed removal of the MCAS, and there's a graduation requirement and a competency. They're still working on the competency, but everybody that passed the MCAS is gonna go on. Now, one thing he did mention, that since the MCAS started in, 2001, anyone that did not meet the requirement over the years can now apply whenever they have the news, so they're going back to look at that, which was very interesting. So,
You can apply for what?
they didn't meet the MCAS.
They didn't give MCAS requirements, so they were not granted.
They were not granted, so now-
Graduation, so they could apply to graduate?
Yes, yes. So,
I wonder what the application entails. I mean, how do you go back
Yeah.
over, do you look at the roll,
yeah,
look at the roll transcripts?
yeah, so it'll be very, very interesting.
You know?
Added workload for them.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
exactly when they don't need it?
So then the majority of the meeting was on the MSBA acceptance and the multi-step process. So basically, actually yesterday, so February 3rd, was this first chunk of money. The period
Okay.
starts yesterday, February 3rd, and it goes through 31 October.
Turn the corner.
So what they're pushing, since they had that subcommittee looking at the building, is to try and get all of the paperwork in and have it submitted for the August meeting, so they can transition to Module 2, so to speed it up.
Excellent.
So take advantage of that. So it's multi-module, so that we're in Module 1, you want to get to Module 2 and 3, picking a designer, and then Module 4, so it's multiple years out, I'd say about 7 years. Yeah. So,
Where are we statistically in the game at this point? I know that percentages change based upon level, progress to, and what have you. Was that talked about at all? Like where we are in terms of percentage of coming to fruition, percentage of fully coming to fruition once you reach the stage? Was there any talk about that?
no, I
No.
don't. If they did, I don't remember.
Yeah.
So I don't recall that. So, but then again, the next meeting's Thursday,
Thursday.
as you said. But
And that's by Zoom too.
That's by Zoom,
Yeah.
that's at 6, I want to say 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, because they have a school committee meeting at 7, so they're gonna have the
Right.
DCC meeting 6 to 7 via Zoom. And then, we go right into the school committee meeting.
Because that is after so we do have the numbers from the state in terms of minimum local contribution and foundation enrollments. So the overall percent change in minimum local contributions for the district was 3.06%. Newbury this year saw a 1.10% change from last year. So last year was the year that we got hit with a pretty big jump in our minimum local contribution. This year it was just a 1% increase. Overall enrollment is down by 64 students from last year, so almost 3% change down. And our new enrollment number, Newbury is 605 of 2,092. So I have some little calculations that I was doing on the back of one of these. So last year, Newbury's enrollment last year was 28.62%. This year it is 28.91%, so a very small change. Pretty much, they did remain unchanged with Newbury at about 29% of the student enrollment, Rowley at 33%, and Salisbury at 38%. The impact on the operating assessment, which is detailed in this, which has a hypothetical and then a example, an assessment calculation example. Right now, using some preliminary numbers for discussion purposes, Newbury under this scenario would be looking at approximately an $820,000 increase, or 6.81%. We fall in the middle by percent increase. Rowley is the town this year that would be, they're gonna absorb the bulk of that they're coming in at 9.54% increase. And that is because of the high bump to their MLC, their minimum local contribution. Salisbury is at 6.46. So it's, looking back at previous years, we've just, without knowing anything, we should have known that it was gonna be between a 5 and a 10% increase in the school, in the operating. And that's gonna trickle down to about a 5 to 10% increase, give or take, to each of the towns.
Right. And we've always made a commitment, or the board has always made a commitment to fund our educational services at least 50% of our operating budget. We've used that model and we've honored it for at least the last 12, 13 years. We've exceeded it in some cases. We've suggested in the past that we do this 50-50 sharing of new revenues, any new growth we happen to receive on an annual basis, and anything beyond that. So if we would fund 50% towards the general operating budget and 50% towards our educational expenses, anything beyond that would be considered for override. We haven't had to do that, we've gone beyond it, but we were able to make it work with other adjustments in the budget. But I am concerned. I think, as we spoke about it last year, that things are getting more and more difficult, so.
If you were to run, utilizing the example figures, 6.81 points, and I know you don't have all the back and that calculations for any new revenue growth, whatever else, where does that put us in terms of covering the 6.5 points?
We'd be, overall budget-wise, we'd probably be in a deficit of about $700,000.
$700,000 out of an 820 year-over-year increase.
Over, the whole budget, entire budget based on requests,
Yeah.
And it's
So
not.
in light of new growth, we only have about 100,000 of the 821,000.
We get about 200,000 in new growth
Yeah,
on a good year,
yeah,
so it's not a significant amount of money.
yeah.
But the sky isn't falling. It's not unusual for us to be in a deficit position at this point. We're in the very early stages of budget development. Things are going to change. We don't even have any numbers from Essex Tech or Whittier at this point in time. I think you remember last year, we got our numbers as we were going into town meeting,
Yeah.
so had to make some adjustments. We had to get a reserve fund transfer last year. So, it's early, but it's definitely getting tighter.
to be expected.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. It's not unexpected.
But 6.5 points year over year, I mean, point me towards anything that hasn't gone up 6.5 points year over year
Agreed.
these years.
Agreed.
Sounds kind of low.
6.5 sounds low. If you talk about healthcare, it's certainly low. It's halfway low.
So I was gonna add, so Brian brought up, they're still in discussions on healthcare.
Yeah.
They're hearing about 20% increase from other towns.
21.
21. Okay. The bus contract, they had the competition between Coach and NRT, NRT won, but it's still a 12% increase. So, those were the two big ones. And then talking about Whittier, so I also saw in the paper that Whittier was also accepted to the NSBA, so they're moving forward.
I like the direction you're going with that.
Yep. So we shall see.
But it's not all bad news.
No.
The MMA, the governor announced some new initiatives for road improvements, extra money for Chapter 70, transportation. So, you know, hopefully our unrestricted general aid is going up, I think 2.2%, or that was the pledge anyway. We'll see as the legislative process unfolds. But
This may be a little out of order, but Tracy, is now a good time to kind of walk us through the budget calendar?
Sure.
Just to ground everybody on where we are.
Sure. So we've, department managers have all submitted their requests. The special articles were due yesterday. We are in the process, yesterday. We are in the process, the capital planning committee has already started their discussions. We had presentations from the police department, the fire department, and the DPW. We have 2 departments coming to present at the next meeting.
Yeah.
We've got IT and the Council on Aging.
Yep.
We've done a pretty amazing job, if I do say so myself, in terms of being able to fund all of our capital improvements without requesting a debt exclusion. I remember back, and I think Jean, you were probably here with me at the time, back in 2011, 2012, we were talking about the elementary school roof, and we were gonna have to do debt exclusions for that. Well, we've had to phase it, and yes, it took longer to do it, but this year we're proposing completing the roof, completing the HVAC system, and appropriating another couple $100,000 to start interior renovations to the elementary school. And we've done that pay as you go. So as the influx of ARPA funds has helped us exponentially in terms of vehicle replacements for dump trucks and four-wheeled excavators, police, fire vehicles. We've even done some recreational playgrounds and things. We tried to spread it out amongst all the functions of our government. So that helped us out significantly. But now this year, with the budget proposals and the presentations that we've received so far, we'll be spending down most of our free cash and most of our stabilization fund. And, you know, we need to, so we're gonna move forward with those projects. But if you should ever decide that, you know, we wanna move forward with, we've still got a town hall situation, and we've still got a fire department on Morgan Ave that really has outlived its useful life. You don't want to spend down the entirety of all your reserves when you're going to be rated by credit agencies. So just things to think about.
What do we have in both those accounts right now, free cash and stabilization? You know, off the top of your head.
I don't have it off the top of my head.
I
It's a
don't-
little over
Is it in
2
here?
million.
A little over
Is
2
it-
million.
Yeah, it's
In both?
no, not stabilization's got a couple $100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That free cash is about 2 million.
And ATM is on the 22nd?
Yes.
All right, so we will have a few meetings going into that time of year, so. Good to know.
At which meeting do we, do the finance committee meet to vote?
So you meet jointly with the select board on the 11th.
Okay.
We'll go through warrant review.
Okay.
Some years you voted in that meeting, other years you've, sometimes you take up some of the
Right.
articles and leave some of them, so, but generally that's,
Can we leave them until April 1st to vote?
Yep.
Or do we need
Or
a
can we,
meeting
actually,
after that?
so the select board has to sign the warrant on April 1st,
April
so it's
1st.
posted, so we
Well,
can
that's
get
the
it.
same night we have a
Mhm.
scheduled meeting.
okay.
I think we, my feeling is we need to take a separate vote, like we are.
We need to listen to it
Just
the first time
listen
and
to it and
then
then do our,
do our voting.
Deliberations.
Yeah,
Sure.
maintain,
yeah, we could
Yeah.
probably fit a meeting in, maybe March 18th, is that the date?
one time we actually adjourned, what did we do? We met jointly,
And then you left.
then we adjourned and left
Mhm.
to have our own meeting, which is that could be a
That's a
possibility
possibility.
unless it doesn't seem to work, unless we need more time, but I would think,
Yeah,
Yes, and we did do that, I remember, yeah. So,
yeah, let's think about whether or not.
it's just that the discussion as
Is-
a board versus a joint board is different,
It is,
you
yeah.
know?
Right.
So you really need to.
I agree that we
maintain
need a
that kind of
separate-
separation.
I kind of feel like the warrant review and the discussion that we have there is kind
Oh.
of is helpful, but that having our group meet separately, we can talk about that. I might be away on the 18th, so I'm trying to make sure that March 18th, so just want to make sure that we think about that. So as we get into, we'll do our March 4th meeting. Anything that we might have in draft before the 11th?
Mhm.
Okay.
Get you some-
That would help.
I mean, you can have what I have.
Yeah,
It won't be
yeah,
a
that would
final
be,
document, but
yeah.
I'm happy to provide.
Yeah, that would be
It
great
won't be
if we
that
could.
pretty presentation.
It won't be the pretty book,
No,
no, it'll be the worksheets.
okay, that's good.
Yep.
That's all right, we've done.
That's fine. I think that makes sense. Any other questions about the schedule or any surprises?
Is that during April vacation?
No, or the
Town meeting.
town meeting? I have no idea. Is it?
Oh, is it?
Yep, it's the,
Oh,
The school we were hoping to do it the following week, but they couldn't accommodate us.
Oh, at
is it at the high school?
High school.
the high school?
That was the only date they could give us.
Why do we think that's better than at Lumbriel?
Because it can hold more people.
Yeah, we've had very few meetings that would necessitate the capacity of Triton versus Newville.
When we had the issue where we couldn't seat all
right.
the membership,
Yeah.
all the voters
I know.
that came out, the board decided that was.
Is that the board's
location
decision or
from now on.
town clerk or us?
Select
Select
board.
board.
Select board.
It's town, not town clerk. Oh, okay.
Maybe they could review it this time, just because we don't have anything terribly heated, I don't think. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, we can.
You know what's gonna draw a crowd and what's not, in general.
Usually.
Yeah.
Every now and then.
Yeah.
There's a dog issue. That's right.
We can put it together in a location.
So I feel like Tracy pretty much gave us an overview of the CPC meeting recap as well.
Actually, I'll
Do you have a little bit
add,
more?
she had,
Good.
Public Works, but Chief Fisher was a cruiser replacement in the town landing. There's some pylons that they need to replace.
Okay,
And then Chief Evans had the Lucas Mechanical chest compression, replace that, new structural firefighting gear. And then he received a grant on that, right, Tracy? So I think
He did.
He did.
got a
I
grant.
saw that.
10,000, yeah.
And then a replacement vehicle extraction tool, and then fire department record management, some software updates. So it's hardware and software. So what they have right now is going to be out of date, obsolete, and they need to upgrade. And so that will include all the hardware, software, and any training that they need for the personnel to utilize it. And then that'll generate the reports that they need to report to state and federal. So
The cruiser replacement was already on the CPC schedule.
That one was not, and that will likely be deferred until 2027,
Okay.
till we need to be compliant.
yeah, so.
The cruiser, that's sort of on a, we're doing that cyclically.
We go back
So
and
we've
forth.
been on the CPC.
I mean,
It's
that-
paid through the operating assessment.
Yeah,
Because
right.
it's a 3-year rotation, so technically it doesn't meet the criteria for capital planning because it doesn't have the 5-year useful life, but we just bring it to the committee. Any capital purchases, they could get a question at town meeting, so we just feel like anything that is capital in nature, we discuss it.
Okay.
But you're right.
Excellent, and then we did, for fiscal year '25, any surprises?
Hot,
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, I was gonna say, that we were
Not
looking at the
financially.
year-to-year comparison, it looks,
Are we in the year where motor vehicle excise is later this year? Must be, I hope.
I'm
February.
just saying, yeah, it's February, yeah, it's not,
It's
it's,
like,
It always comes, the big commitment is in February,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
when we have this meeting.
Yeah.
Each year, it's always looks
we always
strange,
ask the
but,
same
yeah.
question.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah, we're definitely like, yeah, behind, but expect to be behind at this point in the year.
Everything else is tracking where it should be. Expenses are fine, we haven't identified anything that
It's out of
is
whack.
out of whack at this point in
Okay.
time. And it is only early February, so.
Too bad. I hear the snow dragons going outside my house.
Yeah.
That's what we named the,
We can use the budget 3 inches at a time. Storms are like torture.
so we named the snow plows when the kids were little,
Snow dragons.
snow dragons.
Yeah.
They heard them go by. Any other questions for Tracy? Anything personnel-wise that has an impact on budget that we need to be aware of or anything? No, good?
Big
Alright.
raises for everybody, I heard that.
2%. 2%. There are no steps, no
Chairman, the
bounds.
chairman of the board of selectmen wants a big raise this year, I heard.
Is that what we heard?
The vice chair?
Oh, the vice
Vice
chair,
chair.
the
Oh,
vice chair.
I missed that, sorry, Bill. Gotta have a little
I'll pass on the raise.
We can't pay him enough.
I think, if that's it, we have no new business, taken care of everything we need to. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, adjourn 7:30.